Hey everyone, my name is Brendan Bigley. I'm from awfulbit.com.
I'm Chris Morris. I'm also from awfulbit.com.
I'm Colin Jansen, also from awfulbit.com.
Wow, that was really professional, that intro. That was good for
Good
us.
job, guys.
Good for us. We super did it. We are here today to talk about basically the biggest day of E3 so far. Not to say that yesterday wasn't big, but today has 3 pages of notes. So
Yes.
in my eyes, that's a big day. We just are hot off the heels of the Sony press conference, which we're going to probably talk about more than the other ones, because it was fucking crazy in every way.
Bonkers.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was problematically
It
incredible.
was an emotional ride, it really was.
Which is why I was worried about all of the shit that we have to go over. But I think I'm okay with it now because I know we're going to speed through it to try and get to Sony. Because that's what we really want to talk about. Because here at AwfulBit, we don't mind saying that maybe we are a little bit biased.
Maybe ever so slightly.
Maybe a little bit. So if Sony wants to pay us, no.
Bring it on, Gamergate. Bring it on.
AwfulBit in Action is a new subreddit that just please don't do that.
Yeah, please don't.
Starting with those deep cuts, guys.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's like be real ass human beings, and we'll start from the beginning.
Very good place to start.
There was a thing called the Black Box, and it was the first video game ever made. So today started off with Microsoft. Were you guys excited for Microsoft going in? Were you guys like hyped about it?
I was more curious than anything else. I don't have an Xbox One. I know Brendan doesn't have an Xbox One.
I used to have an Xbox One.
You did, and then you bounced it real quick because you played like a day of Titanfall, and then that was it.
I played Titanfall
roommate with one. So I know a person who lives with me who has one.
Right. So. You have one in the residence, which is
like
more
I can
than...
see it. Like I walk by it sometimes. I'm like, hey, you. There you are.
Yeah.
Word. Okay. I was expecting Microsoft to kill this year because they're clearly in second. Yeah, they're clearly in second. And I will say that by the end of the Microsoft conference, I thought that they had killed. I was really impressed with some of this stuff. So I mean, I don't know if there's. I'm trying to decide how we should do this. Like, should we just go and say the things we were most hyped about, or do we just talk about everything that happened? Because there's so much. There's
a lot. So let's. I figure we might as well just go with highlights rather than everything.
Starting with Halo, because that's the big one.
Halo 5.
They started with Halo 5.
Yeah, which is a very strong starter, and I frankly think they should have waited because I don't think the stuff they had later on really was like a huge. Nothing that came after was a big deal.
I agree. I think they should have switched the first and last things they showed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, I think probably because Gears 4 is an unknown quantity, that's why they saved it. But something that actually happened during that campaign video was I remembered something that you were saying, Brendan, yesterday about Doom, which was the taking control away from the player idea.
Yes. Yeah, that really bugged me.
I was watching the campaign and I was like, this looks like Call of Duty campaigns at their most bombastic, and that sucks.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just set piece. Yeah.
The things that were so great about that early Halo campaigns was that other than cutscenes, you were doing everything the whole time. There was never a moment of like you're sliding down this hill and you have no control. Like it was always you always knew exactly what you were doing and what needed to be done. In the scenario. So that was a little like.
I think a lot of games do that now. I mean, to some it like works better because it more is a stylist, just a stylistic effect on like whatever's happening. But a lot of times, like it looks great in a trailer, but when you play the game, you're like, cool, I'm watching myself do something cool that I didn't choose to do.
Right, but I had no say in if this was happening or not.
if you wanted to make me watch a cutscene, let me watch a cutscene.
Let me watch a cutscene, right? And if you want me to play the game, then let me play the game. I completely agree. They did announce a new multiplayer mode called Warzone. It's a 24-player competitive multiplayer thing that also has player versus environment elements.
It was very confusing.
Yeah, it's actually, like, honestly, that was the most exciting thing about Halo 5 to me, because I was going in just saying, because Chris and I have talked a lot about Halo 5 and saying Halo 4 was 343 Studios saying we can make a Halo game, and then, you know, Halo 5 was going to be them leaving their mark. And Halo 5, to me, personally, so far, doesn't look like they're really leaving their mark, but Warzone looks like a really, really interesting new element, and something that I'm interested to experiment with, because it reminded me, weirdly enough, of like a Heroes of the Storm or a League of Legends, where there are creeps on the battlefield that you have to take care of, which is kind of fascinating. I thought that was really interesting.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah. So the next game they showed was called Recore, created by
cinematic trailer.
Yeah, it was a cinematic trailer, which is a lot of today were cinematic trailers, which I have a personal beef with, but I'll hold that in for now. It's by the creator of Mega Man, which is cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it looks like a very pretty video game version of WALL-E to me.
That's kind of fair, yeah. This is definitely a WALL-E vibe coming from the design of the little robot.
Yeah, they killed a Robo-Dog, and then they brought a Robo-Dog back to life, and he was 3 times the size.
In a Half-Life Robo-Dog kind of way.
There's not a lot to say about it, because it was just a cinematic trailer. I mean, it was very pretty, but
looked cool.
That's my problem these days, is that, you know, if you're just going to show me a cinematic trailer, then I have no idea what your game is about, and why announce the game if I'm not getting, you know, any indication of whether or not I want it. I mean, I know that it exists, and that's nice, but, you know, and you're setting the tone of the game, but I think that that's not enough for most people.
You know, I feel like if there's any place for cinematic trailers, it actually is announcements, because it is just announcing the existence of such and such thing. Yeah.
Right. I think for certain franchises that makes sense. Like, we're going to get into EA later, and I think Mass Effect, you know, there is.
Well, yeah, they can get away with it because it's a known quantity.
Right. That's what I mean. There's something to be said for saying, hey, there's a new Mass Effect coming. I mean, we already knew that was coming, and we'll get into that later. But I think for a new franchise, you need to really sell people on it. Like, if you're going to introduce a big new bombastic IP and say, like, hey, we're focusing on, you know, creating new experiences for people, I don't know how it's a new experience, because you didn't show me the game.
A lot of the trailers, like, I feel like a lot of the intro trailers are like, they don't want to, like, if there is a plot to the game, they don't want to, like, reveal the plot too early. So it's kind of just like, look at this cool imagery we assembled into, like, a minute-long trailer that doesn't make any sense, really.
Yeah, like, look at our concept art.
Yeah, you're like, it looks nice. Yeah, it definitely looks nice.
I should mention that I have a friend who's working on that game. I just feel like I should mention that. Maybe for legal reasons. But anyway, the next thing they announced, which was, for me, probably until Sony, the biggest holy shit moment of the day, which was announcing backwards compatibility for the Xbox One, which is a really big deal.
Yeah.
It's like a really big deal.
That's a huge deal.
I don't know how they did it. That's like an engineering marvel. I thought that, like, you would have to go into designing a console and saying, like, you know, at some point when they're all sitting in a boardroom and they're checking off boxes, someone says, okay, backwards compatibility, yes or no, and everyone checked no, but suddenly they erased the pen somehow and changed it to yes.
What I don't know what the criteria is, because it sounded like they're like, we worked with such and such people to allow such and such thing to happen. Like, is it something that the company, the developer, has to put together in conjunction with Microsoft in order to make it work, or is it just across the board, everybody?
Yeah,
I think they have a list available of, like, what works right now, and it's not that many games. I was
just going to say, in my notes I have a little asterisk next to backwards compatibility, because I saw that list, and the list is like 10 to 12 games long at the moment. It's nothing like too crazy, but what is exciting about it is that these games that will be backwards compatible will have their multiplayer, like their online multiplayer support.
Right? That's crazy.
That's awesome.
That's absolutely crazy.
The fact that like it even exists as a possibility, like even if they don't have a ton of titles that work with it right now, is really, I don't know, that's really cool. I think that's
because one of my biggest issues is the archiving of video games, because a lot of these games are just gonna go away forever, and there's gonna be no way to play them online anymore. Games like what was it, Star Wars Empires? What was that MMO called? That like first Star Wars MMO?
Galaxies.
Galaxies. Yeah, Star Wars Galaxies. That game was kept alive by, basically internet archivists, because LucasArts decided to not support it anymore. And that's so the fact that we're, I don't know, getting to keep these games is really, really great. So next they announced the Elite controller. Which,
I have written down weird controller porn. So I think that about sums it up.
I agree.
It definitely, like, the amount of customization they have is crazy on it. It's ludicrously expensive, but I guess.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Yeah.
How
much is it? It's $150.
Yeah, like really expensive. But I mean, I guess if you're like so hardcore, you need to like trick out your controller.
Yeah, if you're a super elite gamer.
It's probably good for people like that. I really thought, even though it's definitely like, I feel like you're gearing towards like, elite gaming or whatever. I feel like it's better for people with like, if you have like a motor impairment or some type of physical disability. Right. Yeah, like I feel like that's probably its better purpose than like being like a
instead of being able to switch the thumbsticks out when you get too much Dorito dust on the ones you have.
And what were those weird little like the paddles?
The paddles on the back. Yeah.
What is that? What are those?
I'm not super sure. Yeah, what I find interesting about that is, because you're able to remap the buttons. Like, are you able to add extra features to the back? Like, what kind of games are going to be supporting having extra button inputs on top of what you normally have?
2 extra triggers, absolutely.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. So that's crazy. Next, we had basically the exact same Fallout presentation that we had yesterday.
Not quite, but yes.
Plus a couple more interesting things.
Yes.
For me, the one that I wrote down was that all PC mods will work on Xbox One.
Huge deal. That's such a huge deal.
I know, which is just, pushing forward the idea that if you have an Xbox One and you have a Windows 10 machine, these things are essentially one and the same, which is probably the reason that I'll get an Xbox One in the long run, is because of that kind of functionality.
Yeah. I thought that was neat. I mean, it makes it an easier, so people don't have to, I feel like with Bethesda games, like the default is choose PC, because there's going to be a great modding community. So like, why not?
Get vanilla if you have to. Yeah, is like the thing.
Get vanilla if your PC can't run it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that was a huge deal. They showed off a little more of Power Armor gameplay, which I appreciated.
And really kind of showed off why Power Armor is so different in this game than the previous entries, which is great.
Like, fight a Deathclaw and not die immediately.
Survive at all. Survive. So next,
EA Access.
Oh yeah. Next was EA Access. I didn't even write that down. I was just gonna skip over.
Actually, that's not on my list either. Whatever.
I was gonna skip over. I mean, it's cool. I don't know. Gaming subscription service, great idea. EA running it, I don't know why. I mean, because it doesn't seem like a bad deal, but I don't trust that shit. They're adding Titanfall and they're adding Dragon Age Inquisition, which are both spectacular, really great games.
They've been trying for so long with Origin. Like, it's just another step in that direction. I feel like if you're an avid EA Sports player, like you buy NBA, NHL, Madden, FIFA every single year, then I feel like, of course, like, this is going to save you an incredible amount of money if you do this. But if you are not beholden to those franchises in the same way, then it just doesn't seem worth the investment.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So the next thing that they announced, and we'll get into this with EA, or maybe we won't at all, because they talked about this game way too much, is Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. Which I should mention, I love the first one.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Is it good? Like, it looks cool, and I never checked it out because I guess I was just like, I assumed it would be bad. So
it was the free PlayStation Plus game at E3 last year for EA's presentation. and I picked it up and really, really, really liked it. So I'm excited for the second one, but they talked about that game so much.
Yeah, they were pushing it hard.
Too much. What was after that?
Forza 6.
Which I like driving games. I don't know if you guys are into that, but Forza's good.
See, I know you're a huge Forza person.
Yeah.
The kind
I haven't played one since 360 though.
The lowering the car onto the stage thing was a little much.
Right, ceiling car was a weird thing.
They just wanted, they were like, we can do this.
What was great about that moment was
that
ceiling car only existed for maybe like 2 minutes, and then they got rid of ceiling car.
Yeah.
The ceiling car did not stay around for very long. I was just kind of amazed how little time ceiling car was around.
Yeah.
The thing that I kept having happen, and this is something that recurred throughout the day and I'll bring up some things later on now just to put them all in one folder, like when Pele showed up, when Angela Bassett showed up, and when the Henry Ford III showed up. Like, these are all super important people in the world, and they were just kind of like, okay, thanks, great, we're going to talk about the game now. It's like, oh my god, guys.
That's the classic E3 that we've grown to.
It's like it's a cameo. It's just like, check out this famous person. All right, send them backstage. Like they're not needed anymore.
We need to do tech demo stuff. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, we need to watch Nathan Drake not do anything. Could you please leave? So after Ceiling Car returned to heaven with a choir of angels, they announced rightfully Dark Souls 3. Which we already knew existed. That was another known thing. I think the one thing that I wrote down for Dark Souls 3 that I thought was most interesting, and not a lot of people thought this, I just thought it was maybe a possibility, is that it's not a PS4 exclusive. Because after PS4 got Bloodborne as an exclusive, I thought maybe FromSoft is just going to move over. Because I thought Dark Souls 2 was like always in development for Xbox One, and that this new one might not make it. But it did, and that's great. Dark Souls 3, very exciting. Again, cinematic trailer. All the details we know are because it leaked.
Right. I mean, the trailer looked really good. But the real details are all the leak stuff. So. Yeah,
exactly. And I've talked about that, and we've all talked about that in the past.
So it's beta for The Division in December was another thing.
Division beta specific for Xbox One users, which is cool.
And Vegas 1 and Vegas 2 are going to come with Siege.
That's the next thing I was going to say. Yeah, if you have an Xbox One and you pre-order, or is it pre-order or just buy?
I think it just comes with.
Yeah, if you buy Rainbow Six Siege, which looks incredible, you get Rainbow Six Vegas and Rainbow Six Vegas 2 for free, which basically I grew up playing those games, or at least I feel like I grew up playing those games, so I'm really hyped to get back into them, especially because the online works.
Yep.
Which is incredible. So, we can talk more about Rainbow Six during Ubisoft thing. The next thing is actually one of my favorite games of the day, which is Tacoma.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Cuphead.
Oh, no, Cuphead soon. No, it was Tacoma, which is the new game by... oh, wow, I just forget. Oh, Fulbright Studios. They made Gone Home, and Steve Gaynor, the head of Fulbright, got up on stage and basically said, hey, let's look at like 45 seconds of Tacoma so you can wet your beak, and then I'm going to return to my hole and continue making it, which I'm sure it's going to be great.
Right.
Steve Gaynor, cool guy. Tacoma, beautiful looking game.
Yeah, I love exploration games and I love sci-fi, so I was like, yes, this looks excellent.
I know, that's why I'm so hyped about it. It's just like they clearly can do what they do. I mean, they made Minerva's Den for BioShock 2, which is some of the best DLC that's ever existed, and I don't know, they made Gone Home, which we all know improved the story element. So blend it all together, we're gonna get a good game. We know we're gonna get a good game. There's no way that Tacoma's gonna be bad, realistically.
Yeah.
Beyond Eyes, watercolor game, looked like could be like a Studio Ghibli kind of game, which is cool. But then Cuphead.
Yeah.
Cuphead.
Which we saw last year. This is like a real look at Cuphead. Cuphead showed up for like 5 seconds in a sizzle reel at the PlayStation conference last year. so this was a little bit more of a longer look at it. For people who don't know, Cuphead is like basically what 1940s maybe
20s.
Yeah, I think it's like 20s, 30s, but yeah, like
20s,
early, like
the earliest of Disney things.
I've heard rumors that they're actually animating it like on light boards, like they did in the 20s and 30s.
That would be insane.
But it really looks like a 20s, 30s game. Like I can't stress that enough. It looks like
look up shots of this or video because it looks like animation that you can play and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, like the animation is crazy well done. So it's like insanely well done.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Also, the soundtrack is jazz, which I was like, oh yeah, this is good. I like this.
That game's gonna be so cool. I'm really excited about it. The next thing, I just have early access frowny face.
Yeah, I have Xbox early access.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I think, something that we'll probably end up talking about more when it starts to like come out and we're doing Super Brunch Force episodes and stuff like that. I think just like at least touching on the fact that early access seems sketchy for Xbox.
Yeah.
Not like 100% into it. Next was the Rare Collection. It's 30 games for $30.
Yeah, that's like a nostalgia cash-in. I mean, that's cool, but yeah, that's what it is. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll do well with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play it to have like an up-resed Viva Pinata, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
So that's exciting to me. Next, oh man, I didn't write down the actual name of this game because I suck and I'm bad at this, but I just wrote Pirate Destiny.
Oh, that's Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves, which is
the new Rare game.
Oh, Thieves.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like. I was like, that could be cool, but like, I mean, like, the trailer was kind of just like, watch us run to a boat, and then we're fighting another boat. And I was like, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. When that happened, Brendan and I had been messaging throughout the day, and he like kind of freaked out, and I was like, sounds cool. I kind of need to see a little more of it before I'm
I think the art style, like, it looked like a cool art style for what they were going
Very Wind Waker, evocative of Wind Waker.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if they were making Wind Waker again now,
it
would probably look closer to that. I don't know. Again, seems like it could be cool. How do you guys feel about Tomb Raider?
I really, really liked the first of the new Tomb Raiders, so
me too.
I'm excited for it. I mean, it kind of looks like more of the same, but like, that's fine. I mean, there's some changes I hope they make. You know, like making the tombs actually difficult and more, more tombs, so the name makes sense.
Right, I was just about to say, being that you actually will raid a tomb.
Yeah, right. Instead of just being like, well, I found a corner with a cool lock in it that takes 5 seconds to figure out the puzzle, and then you're back to the story.
Like, I can't figure out. I can't like put my finger on why I'm not as hyped about Tomb Raider this time as I was when they first announced it.
I think we knew. Maybe it's because like we knew this. Like we've known that Rise of the Tomb Raider is coming forever. Like we didn't know details, but like they're gonna make another one, and as long as nothing goes terribly awry, should be good. So
yeah,
I feel like it's more like good. It's coming. I'm glad, but I'm not like
Yeah, they didn't show. They just showed that kind of crazy snow portion.
Yeah, they just showed that you shouldn't go hiking by yourself. Like that's what I learned from watching the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, because you'll get in an avalanche and die.
Right, and then you'll have to ice pick someone's head in.
I'm a little irritated that it's a timed exclusive, but I mean, whatever. I'll deal with it.
See, I'm glad it was timed because I had thought for a while that it was just an exclusive.
Straight up exclusive.
Yeah.
But considering Square Enix thought that the first one was a failure, even though it's the best-selling game that they had last year, like, there's no way that was going to stay on one console. Like, those guys are nuts.
Yeah.
Next is Fable Legends, which I'm actually surprised they didn't talk about more.
And they showed this kind of weird reverse trailer. Yeah. Also, was that Lena Headey?
I don't know.
It sounded like her.
Oh.
That's Cersei Lannister for those.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
It's weird because I heard a very, very long interview with one of the developers, and it actually seems really interesting, and it's weird that all of these details aren't coming through on stage at any of the events. The game sounds really cool. It's like a level-based, I don't know, it's just like a level-based free-to-play game that they're not doing free-to-play in a shitty way at all. They're doing like in really interesting, cool ways. that's basically like a Humble Bundle version of a game, like one single game. So it's like you can decide how much you're paying, I guess, and doing that will get you like things that won't change the gameplay, but just like make it more enjoyable in like really strange ways. It's really kind of cool. But they didn't talk about it, so I'm not going to. The next was kind of nuts. So last week, Microsoft announced that they had a deal with Oculus, where every Oculus Rift, the final version, will come with an Xbox One controller, and also games that you're streaming from your Xbox to your Windows 10 PC, which is this again is why I'm going to get an Xbox One eventually, will work with Oculus, which is like just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
They announced today that they also have a deal with Valve VR. They didn't give any details about what that might mean, but that's still really exciting. They now have both the major players in VR, and then they, basically back that up with a third announcement and demo of HoloLens, which made me think that I hit my head in the 4th grade, and I've been in a coma ever since, and that this is all a fucking dream.
HoloLens looks really cool. I feel like it's one of those things that like they keep like they want it for video game use, but I'm like I feel like this can be used for like so many like more practical,
better things. Yeah.
I was like architects could use this, like engineers. Like you should like give this to industry people.
Well, I think we are getting the specifically game tailored version of this, but this is a Microsoft property, and so they're also like sending this to everyone who could ever use it ever.
Right. I mean, it's easier to make virtual worlds in virtual reality and project them onto the world when they are already 3D rendered. It's harder for enterprise users to end up, doing the things that they'll eventually do, like what you're saying, like weird surgery shit and architecture. It'll happen. We are like the beta testers for what this will eventually become, which is cool. I mean, that demo. Cool. If you're watching this right now and you haven't seen the HoloLens demo,
watch it.
Wait until the end of this, because this is a great show. But then check that out, because that's a better show. It's unbelievable.
It's one of those things.
We just lost 2 viewers, so I think someone actually.
they're like, oh yeah, I gotta go check that out. Get out of here.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, no, it's worth it. It's worth it.
It's really
it's like you think that it can't exist in front of you, but there it is.
It looks so weird. You're like, I don't know, how is this working?
Because that was so
strange.
They had something that looked like HoloLens in some Microsoft ad they had, and they showed essentially what is the HoloLens, just without the peripheral at the time.
Yeah.
And so you're like, wait, what the hell is that? Is that like the Surface computer, or because that just looks like a table? So how can it be the Surface thing? I don't know. And then
but now it's this incredible.
Now it's a real
face computer. Yeah.
And it's a face computer.
Exactly. Microsoft ended with 2 more announcements. One, both of them we knew were coming. One of them was Gears of War Remastered, which, looks very pretty, and if I get an Xbox One, I may end up getting it, because Gears of War 1 was a really good game.
Yeah.
And I feel like that franchise has weirdly, like, gotten a lot of shit as it's aged, even though the games were good. Like, even sitting here right now, I feel weird saying that the Gears of War games were good for some reason, but I really genuinely
are. I feel like it has like a fan base perception, kind of like almost like Call of Duty does, where people are like, oh, you must be
I
like
agree. It has
a terrible
the
14-year-old, or something. I don't know.
You must be really angsty and heavy metal if you like Gears of War. No, it was the first group that did cover-based shooting really, really well last generation.
Exactly, and now whenever I think of Gears of War, I think about having to switch out the thumbsticks on my Elite controller to get the Dorito dust off them. So then they announced Gears of War 4 officially and showed off an incredibly boring demo.
Yeah.
I thought, personally. I mean, I don't want to shit all over it in case it was someone's game of show or something, but I was not impressed with it for some reason. It was just like, how can you take this really cool, really, high-octane franchise and just,
Yeah. It was like they For a second, I thought they were totally rebranding, like changing the genre of Gears, because I was like, is this like a horror exploration type deal?
Mystery game or something?
Which,
yeah.
Frankly, would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would have been a good move, I think. It's been long enough. Like, why not? I don't know. yeah.
But then it's like, oh, here's all the monsters, and here's a quick time event, and
right, and here's a tornado, and no Bill Paxton. So why even put a tornado in your fucking game if you're not going to hire Bill Paxton?
That's a great suggestion. You should have Bill Paxton show up in Gears of War.
He'd fit.
Yeah, and that was Microsoft.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Microsoft had I feel like last year and a lot of years Sony has the indie market kind of cornered.
Yeah.
And I feel like Microsoft had a lot. They showed a lot of indie stuff. I feel like this year.
I agree. I think they kind of took that role from Sony. I mean, because they needed to, because last year they didn't, and it's just going to alternate. It's always going to alternate that way.
Right. Yeah, it definitely seems like they went after smaller studios to get games that were exclusive for them, and that's cool.
I went into this like I did last year, hoping that Microsoft would convince me to get an Xbox One. And honestly, based on these announcements, they didn't. Based on the being able to stream to Windows 10, they did, and I've known about that for a while. So just the idea that shit's gonna work with Oculus, cool. I'm in. I'll do it, because that's gonna be awesome to bring my computer around with me and be able to play my Xbox from afar. I like that. So now we get into EA. EA, I don't have very many notes on because they didn't have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about.
I have two notes for EA. I skimmed through their thing, so I didn't watch the whole thing front to back.
I mean, it wasn't a lot. You didn't miss a whole lot.
Yeah. It was so they started with basically almost the same amount of content that was Mass Effect 4 related as last year, which was basically, hey, this thing exists. This time they gave it a name, and they called it Mass Effect Andromeda. And that's all we know about Mass Effect 4 at the moment.
It had a cinematic trailer that was cool. I was like, oh, they're in space. Yeah, Mass Effect.
Johnny Cash. I like Johnny Cash.
It seemed like, oh, let's set the tone and then introduce the game and then show you a bit. That's what it felt like. It felt like that classic E3 trope of cinematic trailer, someone gets on stage and talks about it and is way too fucking excited, and then they show you a live gameplay demo where someone does something wrong, and the whole demo's ruined. Basically, that's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it didn't. They just showed off the name, and that was it. So more Mass Effect is coming. That's exciting to most people, including me, but we don't know anything about it. So 2016, 2017.
Yeah, props.
Next was Need for Speed. How do you guys feel about this?
Okay, so Need for Speed has kind of been all over the place. They've been doing a million different things with the franchise for the last couple of years. However, I think they finally realized what are the two best games in the Need for Speed franchise, and those games are Hot Pursuit and Underground. And they're like, hey, why don't we just take the things in those games and make them into one game? And that's what this game is.
It's funny because I went through the last Need for Speed game I played was definitely Hot Pursuit, probably. I'm not that into racing. Yeah, right. And I was like, oh yeah, this game's pretty good, and then I haven't played one probably since then.
I don't like Need for Speed, but I'm hyped about this game because A, it's really, really pretty and stylish and cool, and B, it like you said, takes all the best things about the games that I dislike the least. So I probably get it, realistically. I'm actually really excited about it, and I also wrote down that there are FMV sequences for some fucking crazy reason.
Yeah, because apparently the engine can make it look close enough when they switch to the cars.
Yes.
And that releases on November 3rd.
Oh, that's this year.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I wrote down release.
The next thing I'm not going to talk about because they barely talked about it. They just showed us a cinematic trailer and said some crazy fucking dumb PR shit. The Old Republic. The Old Republic is getting an expansion. It's called Knights of the Fallen Empire. They said it'll be more like a BioWare game. Okay, guys, cool.
Yeah,
Great. Thanks.
I think whenever people say that, they mean like an old BioWare game. Is that what you mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah, because a new BioWare game is the Old Republic.
That's right.
And you guys really goof that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's very frustrating to me, that announcement. And I will say before we even move on, the EA press conference was the most like, this is me, an EA executive speaking to the shareholders. It was very like classic E3 in that way, where they took like really long breaks to just be like, everything's cool, your money is going in good place. Like, just kind of reaffirming. They'd spent a long time talking about how many beta testers they're going to have for their video games. Like, cool, guys.
Right.
Next was Unravel, which, at least based on my Twitter feed, people were really excited about, because this guy came out and he was very humble, and you could tell that he really loved the thing he was making. It's about a little tiny man made of yarn. His name is Yarny, and he runs and is connecting. He is like supposed to represent the like piece of yarn that connects two lovers, I guess is the idea. And as you run, he unravels, which is great.
I thought the art style was like great for that. And I mean, I'm a sucker for like artistic platformers as a thing, I guess. So,
I wrote down Happy Limbo.
Yeah, I said looks like Limbo meets Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like, as much as I liked watching that demo, I don't know if I'm going to get that game, which is weird because I really loved Limbo, and it just looks like Limbo. I mean, unless I hear rumors that it ends in a really shitty, terrible, tragic way, maybe then I'll play it. Cause
of course it will. Wait,
because that's what my life is.
Yeah. I mean, that game was definitely something I would probably be buying like for the art style. Like, I wouldn't necessarily be like, this is going to be like my favorite game of all time.
Yeah,
I think in the immediate aftermath of the EA. It was Max Scoville, once Rev3 Games, now IGN, right? Yeah. And they were talking to like, one guy was like, I think that Yarny is gonna die, and he turns to me, he's like, a game where you play as a character made of yarn called Unravel. You think he's not gonna die?
Good point.
Unless unraveling is you just have enough yarn to make it to the other person, which is...
of course, that's going to be what happens.
Right,
you get that last bit of string.
Oh, that's what it is. Can we call this right now on the E3 Fireside chat?
That's what's happening.
You're going to make it, and you're going to jump, and it's going to finish unraveling, and it'll land on the ground, and it'll like zoom back, and everyone's going to be like, oh my god.
And you're going to see the giant red shape.
Someone's gonna reach their hand down and pick up the string.
It's gonna show you like a path it made for your life or something meaningful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's gonna be the guy with his family on vacation, and that's how the game's gonna end.
So next I have written. Wait, can I make actually just while we're doing this? Can I make my Fallout 4 prediction real quick?
Yeah, sure.
While we're predicting things. So there's a dog in Fallout 4. It's a very big deal, this dog. Everyone says this dog is going to die. My prediction, just want to put this out there on the internet, my prediction is that the dog won't die. The dog is about to die. It's going to get basically put in tragic danger, for some reason or another, and you will jump in front of the bullet and take the bullet for the dog, and you will die, keeping the dog alive. Because I think that's the kind of thing that Todd Howard would do.
Yeah. If you can play as a dog at that point, I'd be into that.
Yeah, and then you play the rest of the game as the dog.
Yeah, you have to finish the game as the dog. That's
Brothers, Dog Edition.
Right, yeah. Brothers, A Tale of One Dog.
Spoilers, sorry.
So the next thing I have written was hockey b-ball FIFA.
I think I fell asleep while this was happening, or was just staring at a wall or something while this was happening.
I actually had to drive home during this, and then when I came home, Chris told me that I missed all the good shit because they spent so long on these. But the two things I will point out: Hoop God was the funniest thing that's ever happened at a very professional PR event. And,
what was he doing? I don't know.
And I'm actually really impressed that they not impressed. Impressed is the wrong word. I'm surprised that they kept the FIFA name.
Oh yeah. I think they have to for licensing reasons.
Sign a contract or something.
They have to.
I wonder how long it's going to stay around, because otherwise. Did you notice that it's not Tiger Woods golf anymore?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next thing I have written, which is another theme of E3 2015, is Star Wars Hearthstone. They didn't say anything about it. They just said the Star Wars Hearthstone exists.
I totally missed that. How did I not see that?
I don't know. They said a collectible card trading RPG featuring Star Wars characters.
Oh boy.
This is like the time of Hearthstone knockoffs everywhere.
This is when the woman came out and said, I want to talk to you all about mobile games, and like everyone collectively went, ugh.
No.
And pulled out their phones to play not shitty mobile games. They also announced a Minions game, again proving to the shareholders that they know what's cool and hip.
I was in the shower at that point. That's why I didn't see that.
Okay. After that was Mirror's Edge, which I wrote down it seems kind of safe. It also feels like Mirror's Edge Paradise, like Burnout Paradise, because they said the world is open and you can like just run around and start races and like do a bunch of stuff, which to me doesn't seem like a Mirror's Edge game, but we don't know that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that going like where you're just like the pathing's not great for finding, places. You're like, where am I supposed to be going?
Exactly.
I think they're so meticulous in how they construct these games that I think I don't know. I don't foresee that being an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hadn't really considered the whole like open world thing in the context of a game that was so very linear when in the first iteration.
I think I'm kind of down on I think there's a couple things this year that they were like really excited to say they were open world, and I was like, why is this open world? I'm just not sure why.
Yeah.
That was one of them where I was like, okay, it's open world, but is there like a good reason for it to be? I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. And next was football. And we won't talk about that because the next thing after that was Battlefront, which...
Yeah, that actually I was impressed at how good that looked. Like, because people were being so negative on it for so long. And I'm like, okay, this actually looks like really good.
It looks like it might live up to the hype.
I think because everyone had collectively convinced themselves that the thing that they showed a couple weeks ago could not have been in-game engine, which the whole time I was like, why would you think that? Like, why would they show something? I guess I don't know. It was the internet being as cynical as the internet is wont to be.
Yeah, I actually saw a lot of press people who were at that event saying that they saw the gameplay behind closed doors, which I assume is the gameplay that we just saw today. But they said it looks very, very similar to that trailer that we all saw. So I was actually pretty hyped on the game. I just wanted to see it in action to see if it felt like the original at all. And it really does. It looks fucking phenomenal.
In the trailer, I know a lot of people were complaining about vehicle options, and it seemed like there was at least a good amount of vehicle control.
If you will, of vehicles.
Yeah.
They showed it out, and one I would imagine that is that game mode they showed, which they called I think AT-AT Assault is what it's called. I imagine that's like the ground war combined arms, whatever's the largest battlefield game type. Because they had X-Wings and TIE fighters, they had the speeders, they had the chicken walkers, they had everything.
We got your speeders, we got your chicken walkers. Actually, this is something that I wanted to mention. This is something I wrote down before I even took notes. Was that Fallout 4 comes out a week before Battlefront does.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I think they'll both still do fine, even with that close of a...
I don't even mean from like a sales perspective. I mean from like how the fuck am I gonna play both of those games perspective.
I feel like it's gonna be kind of like you play Fallout and then you when you take a break, you're like, I guess I'll play a couple matches in Battlefront, and then you go back and play Fallout.
Yeah.
This is gonna be such a great fall, and by such a great fall, I mean terrible for my wallet.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be such a problem. I remember there are always those few watershed years of these are the years where everything comes out simultaneously. 2007 was one of them with what was it, Modern Warfare 2 and Super Mario Galaxy, and I think Halo 3 was that year as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
and Grand Theft Auto 4, and like just everything came out that year. And I'm starting to feel like this is another one of those years. Just there's so much good shit coming out. But that wraps up EA.
Yeah.
Battlefront looks amazing. I mean, it's probably on my list for Game of Show.
Oh, for sure.
I don't have too many games of show, and that's one of them. So next was Ubisoft, which
I'm real negative about this whole one. There's one exception in this that I was like, okay, that looks good. Everything else I was like, nope, not really interested.
Okay.
I got one exception.
So they started with South Park: The Fractured But Whole, which I hear that the first game is really good.
Yeah, I haven't played it.
Yeah, see, I don't have an opinion because I haven't played the first one. I mean, if it lives up to the first one, so I've heard it's good. Like that's good.
Yeah. What I find interesting was that Matt Parker and Trey Stone came out and they said we just figured out how to make video games when we were finishing the last one.
Well, Obsidian's not making it, and I seem to recall them having like problems working with Obsidian or something. So it's different.
Yeah. Maybe because Obsidian was going out of business while they were making it. Like in the process of making that game, it was falling apart.
It's like a new studio too, though. So I guess fans online were like, "This studio is made like nothing." So let's see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I mean, if it comes out and it's good, and the first one is on sale, maybe I'll play them both or something. Next, after that, was a new game by Ubisoft with one of the more fascinating presenters of the day. That crazy man.
Was really
he should be a character in his own game.
Yeah,
right. I think he wants to be.
I know, I think so too. It's called For Honor. There's a lot to say about this game, weirdly.
Okay, so it looks like a Dynasty Warriors with dueling, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I'm totally okay with that.
With a stronger focus on deep combat mechanics. It's like Dynasty Warriors, it has the capture points that you have to go hold for a certain amount of time. And what I saw in one of the later interviews that Jeff Keighley did on the YouTube channel was that every round will last about 8 to 10 minutes, which is really interesting. So unlike Dynasty Warriors, the rounds are short.
Yeah.
So is it a pure multiplayer game? Like, it was hard to tell if it was pure or if there is a single player mode. It seemed like they were, obviously promoting the multiplayer stuff, but
yeah,
I feel like you could.
Yeah.
You could do an AI with that same system.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
I like medieval combat, but I felt like, at least in what they showed us, the dueling part seemed like weirdly separate from the rest of the combat. Which I get how.
I think they did that on purpose because it was like they were engaging in what was a very large melee, and then all of a sudden the one guy runs off to kind of a more sequestered area.
Yeah. So from the interview that I saw, apparently the way it works is you can run in and like Dynasty Warriors just go in and fuck a whole bunch of guys up. But if you see an actual player somewhere else, there's a button that you press that's I'm gonna fight that fucker, and then that will initiate a different kind of combat mechanic.
Okay. I guess it seemed like I figured they were doing it for showing off gameplay purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed kind of separate from the rest of the hack and slash part of the game.
Yeah, the combat actually seems really deep though. It seems like it's apparently one of the sticks is for parrying and one of them is for fighting. And you have to parry up if someone's attacking you up, those kinds of controls, which is cool. It's a good idea. A lot of people have tried that, and a lot of people have failed at it. So I'm excited to see if they can do it. So next, this is weird. This is the second time I'm bringing up Max Scoville, or actually the second time we've brought up Max Scoville. But he tweeted out The Crew Blood Dragon and Trials Blood Dragon. Which is exactly basically what the next two announcements were. The Crew, Ubisoft's open world driving game where you go liberate radio towers, like all of their other open world games. It's basically getting a monster truck version, like a monster truck DLC, and just some crazy shit. And then Trials, the game where you are on a motorcycle and it's very difficult, is getting a DLC where you are a cat riding a fire-breathing unicorn, which is super awesome Hacksaw, great Hot Topic advertisement.
Yeah, I was like, oh great, cringeworthy, like goofy stuff. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really gonna pwn some news. Fuck that, honestly.
But hey, then the Division.
But then the Division. Yeah, this was the end to the epic Division trilogy of E3 showings. They finally announced a release date. They showed us gameplay. They showed us how the game fucking works with some like really weird scripted fake multiplayer voiceover.
Yeah.
But I am still. I don't know. It's weird. Every time they've showed that game, I become less excited for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, well,
I'm on the same page as Brennan, actually. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I just feel like we need more info. Like they're promoting the co-op stuff, which is cool. Like that's like the like having a team. But like it's unclear to me. Can you play the game without having like a fire team, like ever? You know, like is that possible? Because I mean, like that's kind of a limitation if like you need to have 3 other people with you always, unless they have matchmaking. I guess.
Seems like to me is basically like Tom Clancy's DayZ. Yeah. So you can go out on your own and you can form parties and stuff, and people can probably hop into your party and whatever. Yeah. But for the most part, I feel like you will be traversing alone, unless you're playing with someone else. I feel like that will be like a really viable way of doing it, and probably the way I'll do it a lot of the time, realistically, because I like fucking people over. That's fun to do in video games.
See, what that whole segment made me realize is like in this game, and I think the interesting thing is that whole dark zone thing, as they called it, is a separate world. It's like a sort of dungeon instance.
Okay.
Yeah, like
that's not normal gameplay.
Right.
Okay. That's like an alternate area. And they mentioned.
Can you answer for me? Can you tell me who pays for the electricity in the apocalypse? Because all of Times Square's lights were on. All of the ads were still going.
It's just like one really dedicated engineer who's like, I gotta keep this city lit.
I know, it's like the one thing that keeps him sane in the post-apocalypse is keeping.
I think
Times Square lit.
The thing that they've said is as part of the like progress of the game is essentially like taking control back of certain areas. And I think with that might come power and stuff,
and responsibility.
Yes,
precisely. I mean, like I'm not like not sold on it. I just think we need more info because like everything so far, it's always been like these little scripted multiplayer interactions which look cool, but I feel like there needs to be more.
Yeah,
info.
I need to see what a regular ass instance of playing that game will look like.
Yeah,
I don't need to. I don't want to see what the like optimal version of that game is. According to Ubisoft.
Right.
I'm just so totally sold already on that game that I just want it.
Yeah, I mean I'm sure we'll play it. It'll be good. Well, who knows if it'll be good, but I'm sure we'll play it. The next thing was Anno 2205. Those games are very pretty. Basically SimCity on the moon or on islands, and it's the future. They're really good games. I don't know if you guys have played them. They're impressive.
I have one like in my Steam library, but I haven't played it.
2025 was the last one, right?
Yeah, so I think that probably is the one I have.
Really good game. It's very good. So the next thing was Rainbow Six Siege. We really got to see Rainbow Six Siege.
We're gonna skip over Just Dance because that was a painful experience.
Oh yeah, afterwards.
Was it really? I went like unconscious during Just Dance because I was like, I can't watch this. I have to like do something else, anything else.
Derulo, not having a good vocal day that day.
We can get Just Dance out of the way first. What was interesting about Just Dance was that the thing that happened right before Just Dance was Aisha Tyler flirted with a guy dressed as the main character from the new Assassin's Creed and asked him to pitch a meme.
Oh no, yeah.
Which was the worst thing I'd ever heard. Until the Just Dance performance, which then became the worst thing I'd ever heard.
Yeah, so like, she saved herself by saying that before that terrible performance. So.
Yeah, it was really, really rough. So Just Dance, the only note that's
Yep.
okay. The only thing that's really worth mentioning about Just Dance is that if you don't have a camera that can read your shit, like a PlayStation Eye or a Kinect, you can use your smartphone, and it'll use the motion tracker in your smartphone, that's a good idea, honestly.
Yeah.
So backtracking to Rainbow Six, they announced that Terrorist Hunt is going to be back, which is basically the best thing that has happened. Is this the thing for you, Colin? Is this the thing that you're excited about?
Actually, I had a great like kind of 180 reaction to this, because I did not like the cinematic trailer that they like to set the game up with. I was like, I don't like this. And then
the Angela Bassett one.
Yeah, I was like, I know it's Angela Bassett, and that's cool, but like the actual what she was saying and stuff, I was like, all right, we get it. You're fighting terrorists. Like, let's stop laying this on so thick. And then the gameplay, I was like, all right, nostalgia. Like, this looks great. So,
fantastic. Yeah, really, really good. It looked like Terrorist Hunt, which is perfect.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
That's like honestly one of my favorite online game modes that has ever existed. I think Terrorist Hunt is like spectacular.
Is that the only confirmed game mode? First, do you know have they said anything else?
Oh no, they have like the actual siege. They have like the siege mode,
right?
Which is the big thing.
That's the competitive multiplayer aspect.
Yeah. And Terrorist Hunt will be the online co-op, which I'm gonna play so much of that game.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's going to be spectacular. Yeah, there's almost like not that much to say about it besides the fact that it looks really good and it's bringing back everyone's favorite shit from the originals. So
it's funny because I didn't think I'd care, but like I mean, in memory, I did play that game a lot.
I didn't think I'd care either, and then they announced Terrorist Hunt, and I was like, oh my god, I missed that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that I missed it until they mentioned it.
Yeah, and I think this entire game is a perfect example of, as you say, Colin, a bunch of other people have done this like unnecessary open world, and I think this is an example of a team looking at a franchise, looking at a game, and being like, okay, let's pare this down, let's make it smaller, let's make it more specific and detailed and precise, and doing that in such a great way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all the destructible environment, like them blowing holes in the walls, so you could watch the staircase.
Yeah, specific, just put it right here. They don't know that it's there, and you just have enough of a sight line to get recon.
Yeah, I love they blew a door off the wall, and it also like fucked up the floor, and you could see like the floor beneath you as well. Just little things like that are just awesome, and that's the kind of shit that gets me excited about like being in next gen. Is like that kind of destructible environment. So then they announced Ghost Recon. What is it? Wildlands.
Is that what it was actually called?
I think, right?
Am I wrong? I just wrote Ghost Recon. I don't even. Yeah, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon something.
I mean, I'll look at it. Yeah, it's Wildlands. Oh my god.
Yeah. So okay, this is actually I think what formulated my complaint about the open world thing. They were like, this game's open world, and I was watching the trailer and I was like, why?
What does that mean?
Why is this open world? I don't understand.
This goes against everything you just said, Chris. This goes against everything you just said about Rainbow Six. Like, they looked at Rainbow Six, they're like, let's make this the best little bite-sized thing, and let's make Ghost Recon the biggest, most bloated thing.
The only way that this could actually turn around and be something great is, like, if they make it like the game that I thought they were announcing, which was a new Mercenaries.
Right, yeah.
If they make it like Mercenaries, then it could be absolutely incredible.
But you know what's filled in the Mercenaries hole is Just Cause.
Right.
Just Cause is already... Oh my god, we're going to see Just Cause tomorrow at the Square Enix thing. Holy shit. Sorry. That's already filled in the hole, I think. I weirdly think that the only thing that they can do to make Ghost Recon Wildlands prove that it's worthy of existing is just having a dope-ass story. It looks like they're going for the Mexican drug cartel vibe.
Yeah, even so, that was actually my other concern. Was I was like, okay, so based on the trailer, this entire game is about you and your cool U.S. Army friends just murdering drug cartel members in an open world. So you're just have a carte blanche to run around and murder random people in foreign countries.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a terrible premise for a story. Come on.
Yeah. Welcome to American Jingoism 101.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Oh,
we're
fuck.
killing a bunch of random dudes in South America. Fuck those guys.
Let's
Like,
steal their coke and
didn't
blow
we, like,
up their houses.
Did we create the drug war? Like, isn't this kind of hypocrite? What the hell? Like, what are we doing?
We started this, and we're gonna stop it.
We're gonna finish it. Where we should have finished it when we started it in the first place.
So then they finished off their thing with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, a very long cinematic trailer followed by another cinematic trailer. Which, I mean...
I have no opinions about the Assassin's Creed games anymore. I'm just like, there it is. It's a game. You're going to probably buy it.
Another year, another Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah. Oh, sure is Assassin's Creed. Definitely.
You're wearing a funny hood. I get it.
What I did write down, and this is based off the vibe that they were trying to create in their trailer, because like they were trying to make your main character seem like a super cool, like, oh, I'm leading this gang of ruffians. And the one thing that I wrote down about this was that I wish it was set in late 70s, early 80s London, and you were like punk rockers.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Oh, man.
Because that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Like, imagine that same trailer, but in 1979 and London Calling was playing. Like, that's the game I want.
Like Sex Pistols. Oh, man.
Fuck yeah. Wouldn't that be... that'd be so rad. I don't know. I just thought that was super cool. That idea, not the trailers. The trailers are like, okay.
All right, well,
honestly, the trailers were like, okay, guys, another Assassin's Creed, whatever. They didn't announce a companion app, which I was happy about.
Yeah.
I think this is again Ubisoft's chance to like get their shit together and prove that they can make an Assassin's Creed game that ships and works.
Right.
Because they've done a really bad job of that recently.
Yeah.
So in between Ubisoft and Sony, there was a lot of stuff happening on the YouTube channel and the Twitch channel. Basically, the only two things I wrote down were an interview with Tony Hawk that was talking a lot about Tony Hawk 5. He said that it is coming soon. The game looks like a PS3 game. And I don't know. I mean, Tony Hawk is Tony Hawk. I think that game is going to really underperform. I really don't think that's going to sell. I'm not very optimistic about it, especially if it ships at $60.
Yeah, it would really have to go like straight for the nostalgia in my heart to get me to buy it, which maybe it will. But
that's what they're doing, though. I mean, it's like get the tapes, find all the gaps. It's like they're doing all the same things that they did. That's why they're numbering it instead of saying like creating a new subtitle like American Wasteland or whatever.
Guys, Shenmue Watch, 1,110,000.
Oh, holy shit!
Yep.
Oh wow.
In the time that we've been talking, it raised over 200.
Yep.
That's
incredible. It's also late at nights. People are like staying up to bid on that to put money towards Shenmue, I guess. I don't know.
That's incredible. So the other thing I mentioned, or the other thing I wrote down was Phil Spencer was talking to Jeff Keighley about other things that they were planning on potentially showing off with HoloLens. And they said, and this was a thing that like he said it kind of off the cuff, and I didn't really realize what he said until like I was thinking about it more, and it kind of took over my brain, and I realized I stopped listening to everything else he was saying because this was so exciting. He said we were going to show off the the Minecraft on the Table demo, and we were also going to experiment with putting things around the television, which. Like I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, and then I was like, oh, your TV isn't the end anymore. You can see everything outside of the TV on the wall and around you.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that shit is like that's crazy, and that's another reason that HoloLens is gonna wreck everyone when it comes out, and it's going to create probably some kind of dystopia where we're all going to live in virtual worlds and forget that the real one exists, especially when they port WoW to it or some other kind of...
We're going to become the Lawnmower Man, That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
We're build our own world and live in it.
Yeah. Very similar... I know, Chris, you read the Pendragon books. Mm-hmm. Very similar to the fourth one. But anyway, that's a real fucking deep cut, guys. So now we've made it.
Here we are.
We're at Sony. I went into Sony, honestly, I said this during our Super Run Force episodes, I went into Sony like expecting it to kind of be a bummer. I was saying like, oh, what are they going to have? They're going to rest on their laurels because, you know, they're already winning, so why do they need to like keep pushing that lead farther? Like they can just hang out. And then,
my God.
And then they basically like wrecked everything.
Yep.
3 separate times in one press conference. They were like, oh, you know that thing you wanted for 15 years? Here it is. Oh, you know that thing you wanted for 10 years? Here it is. Oh, you know that thing that we announced 6 years ago? Here it is. Like,
yeah. They like really. Sony always. I feel like especially in the last 2 E3s, like a lot of people have been like, well, who knows what Sony's gonna really do, and then they just like come out swinging. It's crazy.
Yeah. I see.
Like, I barely have like a negative thing to say about anything they announced. I was like, oh, these all look great. Everything looks great. Good job, everyone.
Yeah. All of it was fucking stellar. Oh my God.
So
yet I must say that I did start the thing when we're listening to the CEO. I have just in all caps buzzwords, bees lords, blah, 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 blah. And then they drop The Last Guardian, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm dying in my pants.
I do want to mention before we even get into The Last Guardian, I don't know if you guys watch The Office, but that CEO, I forget his name. I feel like it's shit because I just forgot his name.
But here, Sean something.
Yeah, Sean something.
Sean something.
Yeah. Anyway, he reminds me a lot. Oh, Sean Layden. He reminds me a lot of Robert California from The Office, which is James Spader's character that comes in after Steve Carell leaves.
Oh yeah.
He has this like weird air about him where he's like he exudes sex in everything he says, and like he like weirdly like creates sexual tension between everyone, like regardless of what he's talking about. I don't know why Sean Layden comes out and has that weird same like James Spader vibe to me.
I hope you interview him one day so you could ask him about that. I'd be like, why do you exude sex in all of the things you say?
I'd be too intimidated to interview that man. I would be like, wow, I guess I haven't had my awakening yet, and you clearly have. You're having it right now talking to me. You're always having your sexual awakening, Sean Layden. He had to wear diapers on stage to the Sony event.
That's great.
Especially when he announced The Last Guardian.
Oh my God.
I'm surprised they did it first. I mean, they really set the tone for the rest of their presentation by doing that first.
That was Chris and I were in a chat with all of our friends that we play Destiny with, and that was what I just kept saying was like, this is how they're starting.
Yeah.
With the last. For people who don't know, The Last Guardian is made by the team that made Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, 2 of probably the most incredible games visually and storytelling-wise that have ever existed.
And they're both on the PlayStation 2.
And they're both on the PlayStation 2. They announced The Last Guardian for the PlayStation 3, and it's taken that long for it to disappear. It disappeared. There are rumors that Mark Cerny, who is... I could go look up his Wikipedia, because basically every game that he made is a game that you played when you were a kid and really loved. There are rumors that he's over in Japan right now directing that game and finishing it.
He's that person.
Yeah, they called him in to like finish it. He's like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction, like just coming in to like clean up the back of the car and get the brains out of the leather.
I'm glad they confirmed the original Japanese director is still involved. Like he was there and they made him stand up, and that was awesome. I thought that was great. Yeah,
totally. That was a really good moment. That was like really kind of weirdly heartwarming when he stood up and it was like. He seemed so proud of himself to like finally be able to show what he's been working on, and say like, oh, it's finally done. Which is weird because you always hear about like Masahiro Sakurai, who makes the Smash Brothers games, like basically working himself to death making those games. I can't even imagine what this guy is going through,
Yeah.
But it's great to know that game exists. They didn't announce when it was coming out, but stoked.
Yeah,
stoked
that
it's
2016.
Yeah.
2016. That's all I said.
Yeah, so it's good to know that it's coming out. So that was a really crazy way to start. They followed it with Guerrilla Games, who made Killzone. They followed it with their new IP, which is called Horizon.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon Zero Dawn is the full title. Which looks like. What does it look like?
I don't even know what it looks like. Actually, I really dug this trailer
It
a lot.
looks really awesome.
So I'm a huge sucker. So like any story that's like the nature reclaiming the earth kind of stuff, you know, like abandoned cities that have been overgrown. Like I love that like to death anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is like weird, just kind of like post-apocalyptic future tribal warfare.
It reminded me a lot of Xenoblade, like the new Xenoblade.
Yeah.
Weirdly. Just you're playing as like, I don't even know, like an Eskimo, like taking down these giant beasts.
Yeah, you were like,
giant
sort of like
beasts.
you were like Norse-ish, but like I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely some vague tribal.
I love anything that is some kind of like something big happens in our current world, and then this is the world we're in right now. When I first saw, it reminds me of when I saw the Hunger Games. I hadn't read any of the books, and I was sitting next to my girlfriend who had read them all, and they keep referencing all these things, and I was like, is this supposed to be like the 13 colonies? And like, is this really North America? And she's like, shut up, I'm not here to explain this whole like governmental structure to you right now. But I want to know.
Yeah, that's really what this trailer did. Was it just kind of, again, it set the tone, but in a much better way than basically all the other trailers we saw. It set the tone. Because I walked away saying
ecosystem and
I walked away saying I want to learn more, and not in like a shitty dismissive way, but in like I really genuinely want to learn more, and I want to get my hands on that game and play it.
Yeah.
It looked really cool. They followed with another cinematic trailer, but again, the most stylish and best cinematic trailer, I think so far, which was for the reboot of Hitman, which
looks a good looking cinematic trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've been shitting on them, but honestly, it looked really cool, like stylistically. Again, we don't know what the game looks like. We don't know how it plays. We can assume that
we do know
like
how
Hitman.
It plays.
Yeah. It'd be funny though if it was like a console version of that mobile game. But I don't know. It looked cool. There's not a lot to say about it, but it exists, and that's enough for most people. No Man's Sky.
Street Fighter is a PS4 and PC exclusive, and they announced 2
That's huge.
characters. Yeah. It's not huge for me, but I know it's huge for a lot of people.
It is huge for a lot of people. You're right. And the PS4 exclusivity is like insane.
Yeah.
It's really insane.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So No Man's Sky.
Yep.
Where are you guys at on No Man's Sky?
I think I'm more sold on it now, definitely. And I was never one of those people who I like exploration games in general, just like go around and explore, and like even if it doesn't have much of like a objective beyond just visiting places. And so
all the things I said to Chris while this was happening.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So so I felt like this confirmed for me. I was like, all right. So even if it fails at combat or whatever, I don't care because I'm just going to be flying to new planets. So who cares?
Yeah, it's gonna be a really good come back from a hard day of work and chill out and explore some planets game.
And the star map alone, I was like, this is crazy. This is madness. The star map is so cool.
I'm really excited to use the Spotify app and play some beautiful classical music and just explore. Just put on Chopin's nocturnes and float around the universe without a care. I think that game's gonna be spectacular. Honestly, I was iffy about it, but if I could just play the thing that he showed on stage and that was it, and there was nothing else, and no weird hidden secrets when you get to the center of the galaxy, I would still be happy. Knowing that there is some kind of end, quote unquote, is really interesting. But I don't really need that. And I honestly don't know if I want that. And if it allows me to not go to the center, then I think I'll be happy.
I think it seems like you can go anywhere you want. It's just if you want to beat the game, that's the sort of what you're doing. Yeah. I think that if I recall, it's I think the algorithm works so this stuff that's closer to the center it probably has a higher chance of enemies. You probably need more equipment and gear or whatever.
There will be alien life, you mentioned there not being on the planet you went to.
Yeah, it's like a 3D version of Starbound in that way, because Starbound is similar, where the different sectors of planets get more difficult.
I think it's an expectations game. If you go in expecting it to be a sandbox, you might you know, just fly to a bunch of boring planets one afternoon and like not necessarily always find the most interesting thing in the world. Like I could see people getting discouraged, being like, "Why did I buy this game?" But I think it'll be cool.
I do think a lot of people are going to be disappointed by that game. I think there's a lot of people with very lofty expectations of what it'll be based on solely the marketing and not like even thinking about, you know, what is in between those lines. And those people are going to be really disappointed. But for people like, I think the three of us who are just content with saying, here's an open universe that's going to generate itself and you are the master of your own ship, like go explore it. That's exciting to us.
Like, yeah, I can guarantee people will complain about combat because it definitely looks pretty simplistic, and I don't think they're trying to make it like outrageously complicated. The combat stuff it's just kind of like
it's almost like they have to put it in because they're making a space game.
Right, and like dogfighting is cool, so
they're like obligated. But again, I think it's only 7 people are making that game, so like I don't know. There's so many things that you just need to like stack on top of each other and then assess them. You know.
Yeah.
And you can't just like take Sean's word for it when he gets up on stage and says that it's going to be the most incredible game of all time. Although he does seem very humble about it. It's really everyone else outside of that circle
who are making a big deal.
Yeah.
That was such a funny demo he did. Like, I'm just gonna do something.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, this
I don't know what's gonna happen."
He's like, "It worked in rehearsal, but this is a different planet, so maybe it won't work this time. Whoops." I love
this is rehearsal, but it's a different planet.
Yeah.
Welcome to Planet E3. Oh, look, there's an E3 fish.
There's E3 fish. The one thing, though, no release date.
Yeah.
Which I was like, if you gave me $1 million and you were like, you can make one E3 prediction, I would have said that we're going to get a No Man's Sky release date.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that we didn't. He said it's coming soon.
I think that's the kind of game where it's like you don't finish it, you just find a place where you're satisfied with your work and just stop. Yeah. So I feel like that's really the problem with the release date is like you probably could release it now, but like he's probably not satisfied with like, you know, necessarily how it works.
Yeah.
I know the New Yorker wrote like a big article about his studio and him. He definitely sounds like a guy who's like really trying to perfect things, which, you know, sometimes is bad because it takes forever to make something.
Yeah, that might be, you know, that might fuck it up in the long run.
I'm sure Sony's pressure comes to be like, please release this goddamn game.
We are giving you a lot of marketing money right now. I'd really like it if you would just
please release it. Yeah.
Please.
So next Media Molecule got on stage and talked about a quote-unquote
Acid
game.
Trip Dream World.
Yeah, a quote-unquote game, which is called Let's Sit in Mom's Basement When She's Away and Take LSD. I don't know, it seems really interesting. I know some kids that played that when we were in high school, but I never really played. So no, it's called Dreams. Even when he got on stage, he was like, it's one of those games where you need to like see it and then play it and then let it sink in for a couple of days. So like I don't even know really what to say about it besides like go watch the video and just see what it is.
It just seems all kind of crazy. And
it seems like kind of like a collaborative movie maker sort of thing, but like with the definitely not as straightforward as that sounds, I suppose.
Yeah. It's very strange. I'm having a really hard time talking about it, and I think that's kind of almost the point in a way.
Yeah.
So with that said, I think we should just move on. Like if you're interested in what Media Molecule is doing, which you should be because they're a great studio, like go check out that demo because it was really weird, but cool, and probably will be cool. After that was another one of my games of show, quote unquote, which is Firewatch.
Yes.
Made by Campo Santo Studios. Those guys have a podcast called Idle Thumbs. It's one of the best podcasts on the internet. And
it's really great.
Harry Crane from Mad Men is the voice, and it's a game where you are in the 80s and forest fires.
You're a park ranger in Wyoming, Firewatch ranger, which actually. Really funny tangential story. A good friend of mine, actually you met her, Annie. She was a forest ranger in Montana for several summers.
Oh wow!
Growing up, because she's from there. Her dad did forestry stuff, so I showed her the trailer of the game. I'm like, look, it's forestry people in a video game, and it was one of the early gameplay demos, and it was the one where like at one point he like picks up a can and like throws it at the like revelers with fireworks, and she's like,
yeah.
No ranger would have done that. That's littering.
Oh, that's so funny. I think that game's gonna be incredible. It's written by the guys who wrote the first episode of The Walking Dead. I mean, just the talent on that team is incredible. The game looks amazing. I think again, it's like one of those instances where there's no way that game can be bad.
Yeah,
it's such a gorgeous art style too. So like definitely going to be a good looking game.
Yeah, it's by an artist named Ollie Moss, who is fucking a genius. It's weird because the two games that I've said that about so far were Firewatch and Tacoma, and those two teams, those two studios are like very close, like actual like friends in real life. Which is weird. They just cracked the code. They did it. So wow. I can't believe how much crazy shit there still is to talk about. So next is The Taken King.
Yes.
Which is the new Destiny expansion. It's like the big Destiny expansion.
Yeah.
So for people who don't play Destiny, basically the agreement that they signed, that Bungie, the studio that made it, signed with Activision was every 2 years you're going to make a new Destiny game, and on those off years you're going to release a giant, huge content thing. And this is that. Again, there's not too much info about what actually is in this yet. I'm sure we'll hear about it more throughout the week.
I sort of did
Chris,
a frame by frame rewatch of that footage so that I could figure out what was going on.
I'm wondering how much we should talk about this and how much we should talk about it on the Destiny show that we're going to start.
Yes, perhaps that is a more appropriate place to do that. Suffice to say, bullet point version, they showed several new areas. The Hive capital ship, you could say, probably. I think there's story missions on Phobos, which currently is just playable in a multiplayer map, a Crucible PvP map. They showed new PvE enemy types. New PvE enemy types who might just be bosses. I'm not sure. There's like this Cabal with wings and a jetpack, and this crazy Hive with a giant axe, which is all new stuff. And then there's the 3 new subclasses for the currently existing classes, which look amazing.
Yeah, it all looks super fucking cool. I love the hunter with the bow and arrow. Like,
yeah, that was cool. I thought that was rad.
Yeah, hunter with a void bow. The warlock gets Emperor Sith lightning powers, and the Titan has like fire hammer of the gods.
Hammer. Yeah,
and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's gonna be incredible. It comes out September 15th, 2015. If the most recent DLC expansion for Destiny is any indication, that shit's gonna be like hype.
Yeah. House of Wolves is great.
House of Wolves is honestly like probably of all time like one of my favorite DLC packs I've ever played. This is like probably that is right under like the first expansion pack for the original Call of Duty that added cars. Like I was like, oh my god. So I don't know. I'm hyped about that.
Yeah.
The next was like the next really big holy shit moment of the show.
Also totally unexpected and.
Yeah, wait. So there was a little tiny announcement in between this, which is like I think it's called World of Final Fantasy.
Oh, you guys are come on! That looks so cute, so adorable.
Right now, I was going to say very cute Final Fantasy game that
I was so confused.
I'm going to buy it. Like I know.
I'm so confused about their weird little heads.
It's coming out on the Vita, and so I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy that.
That's why I'm hyped about it, is because it's coming out on Vita, and that was the first time they mentioned the Vita the whole time, and I really thought it was going to go the way of Kinect, and they weren't going to even like mention that the Vita existed. So that was kind of amazing. It'll be cute as fuck, and we'll see it again tomorrow, I'm sure, at the Square Enix event.
Mm-hmm.
I also love that they put World of Final Fantasy before what we're about to talk about.
Right.
Yeah. So this was another moment where they were like, hey, this is a thing you guys have been asking for forever. And everyone was like, no, that's not happening. There's no way. And then slowly everyone kind of started to realize that they are remaking Final Fantasy VII. like for real remaking Final Fantasy VII.
That's the craziest shit.
Yeah.
Square Enix likes to tease. I mean, they made that tech demo a long time ago. They did also done so many things, and they finally decided to do it.
You know what the problem is, though, is that tech demo was the reason that everyone wanted it. It was like they did the tech demo and everyone was like, oh my god, you should make the whole game look like that.
Yeah, right.
Like, just do the whole thing. And they were like, oh, shit.
I guess we have to do this now, guys.
And they're doing it, and it's great. I'm really excited. I mean, how could you not be?
Yeah, it's going to be good.
If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, it's going to be fucking stellar.
This is yet another example of, I don't know what they had to do to get everyone within Sony to keep their mouths shut, but they did, and it was like unbelievable how many like totally unleaked drops they had in this one conference alone. Like this is the very reason why conspiracies don't exist is because nobody can keep their mouths shut for this long, and yet they did it.
Yeah, I heard like a rumor that this was happening like probably like 2 days ago, and I was like, nah, that's bullshit, and then it happened. So
yeah,
good. They kept their mouth shut for a long time.
It was incredible. I mean, again, cinematic trailer, but in this case, the cinematic trailer represents years and years and years and years of like pent up desire. Like Robert California or James Spader. So next was another fucking holy shit. Unless there's something in between there that I'm forgetting.
No, I think we went right into another one.
Did they? Because that's crazy.
Yeah.
So they announced, and we'll just say it, Shenmue 3 Kickstarter. They were announcing that it was launching tonight. As we said, it's almost at $1 million. Or no, it's at $1 million. It's over $1 million now.
Yeah.
I haven't played any of the Shenmue games, but I've heard about them my whole life, and I've always wanted to play them, and I've always wanted a third one just so I can understand why everyone always tells me that I need to play them.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I mean, I'm gonna back it. I'm excited. It's gonna be fucking stellar. Hopefully. I mean, I'm worried because it's Kickstarter. I'm worried because it's not like, hey, we're gonna back this, you know. But I could see a situation where they make enough money, and then they go to Sony, and Sony's like, oh my god, we didn't realize that the hype would be this large, and then they just take on that studio and make like the real Shenmue 3 that should exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shenmue has a big place in my heart. So I never owned a Dreamcast, but I had a friend who did. So we played Shenmue on his Dreamcast when I was like younger, and I never played a game like it at the time. Like it was just a weird game because it was like, I mean, for the time it felt open worldy because you were like, I'm just a guy. And I can like run around this neighborhood I live in and like talk to people and like I can go play video games at the arcade, so I can play video games inside of the video game I'm playing. And I was like, this, and just do like
the vending machine and like all the weird shit,
mundane stuff, and it was like it was just a weird game for the time. But one of my favorite series is the Yakuza series, which is like directly influenced by the Shenmue games.
Totally.
I'm excited that they're doing it.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool. I mean, it's gonna take like probably 3 to 4 years for that game to come out, realistically.
For sure.
But it's exciting that it exists. Moving right along, we're like basically at the end. Call of Duty exists and continues to exist, and it's fine. Like I'm honestly more excited about this one than I have been about other ones in recent memory because of like weird ass superpowers, like being able to rewind time during multiplayer, and having like Titanfall-esque traversal mechanics. Like that's all very cool to me, especially because the announcement I wanted the most out of E3 this year was a sequel to Titanfall, and the fact that I'm not getting that means that I guess I'll just get Call of Duty, which is a weird thing to say because I haven't owned one in like years and years and years. But the biggest thing about it is that they have, like, not exclusivity, but they're getting basically, like, a lot of extra content specifically for PlayStation, whereas that was always a Microsoft thing.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like a changing of the guard because, I don't know, it just, like, weirdly solidifies the fact that the PS4 is the online hub of this generation, and they already won, and they're going to continue to have the lead. And then was Uncharted.
Yeah.
I'm like,
despite their fun glitches, it looked really good. Their glitches were fun though.
Yeah,
I was like, maybe Drake's really interested in just hanging out in this marketplace and not doing anything else.
Yeah,
cool.
I was saying at this point that like anything was possible during this press conference right before they announced Uncharted, and that I was expecting them to announce the new Zelda because Nintendo said that they weren't going to show it off at all. I was like, Sony's just going to fucking do it. Sony's going to do that. They're going to bring back Firefly. Like, they're just going to do everything.
I was expecting Kingdom Hearts 3, but, you know, it's okay. It didn't happen.
Yeah, well, Square Enix said they're not doing it. Square Enix said they're not fucking bringing it because they suck, guys. But Uncharted 4 looks like, you know, more Uncharted, which is the best thing that it could look like.
Yeah, the environmental damage, I thought, specifically in this trailer, looked like really cool. Like the way the bullets broke apart in different parts of the wall and stuff like that.
Yeah, very pretty.
Yeah,
very next gen.
Super next gen, yeah.
We are getting to that point when next gen actually means something, you know, which is exciting.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it needs to be. But those are all the announcements.
What was missing for you guys?
That's hard. I mean, I feel like the Sony conference was such a whirlwind. I mean, so in my dream, which I mean, this would never probably happen, but I really wanted them to like promote Persona 5 just because I love Persona 5.
I thought we'd see it. I'm surprised we didn't.
I thought they'd at least throw it in like one of their clip reels or something, but they didn't, unfortunately. But I mean, that's kind of like a niche title, and it has a rabid enough fan base that it'll be fine. So.
Yeah, that's something we talked about at the last Super Brunch Force. Was like, I think both of us agreed that we expected to see something Persona 5 related at E3, but we might have just been crazy because we're like fans.
I think at that point we just assumed they had nothing to show, so we're like, oh, of course they're going to show it Persona 5. No games.
Yeah. So I mean, I already said for me, I was expecting to see Titanfall 2 today. Really expecting it. I was expecting it at Microsoft, and then that didn't happen. And I was expecting it at EA, like definitely, and then that didn't happen. And
I guess it's just not gonna be around.
It will be. No, they're working on it. I mean, it's already basically confirmed.
No. I mean this E3.
Sorry. No. Yeah, it won't be at this E3. But I was honestly expecting Sony to show it and say like, hey, look, we also took this. You know. Because that exclusivity was just for the first one. But for the most part, I thought that today's E3 was pretty solid. I mean, there were a lot of duds, obviously. Sony is clearly the winner today. If you have to pick a winner, which is like weird, but they nailed it. I really was going into their conference with the lowest expectations of all of them, and they fucking nailed it. Chris, what about you? Is there anything that you would have liked to have seen that you didn't?
I think I was surprised that they didn't show any Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Because, particularly because of its long history with Sony. I know it is coming out on Xbox One now.
Yeah.
But they had such a long history being a Sony exclusive that I figured
it would have been nice to have seen
something.
Yeah. It would have been nice to have seen something that was like, yes, it's coming out on Xbox, but like, it's still at home on the PS4.
Yeah.
Actually, another thing that I thought I was going to see from Microsoft that I didn't was the new Crackdown. I really thought we were going to see more Crackdown.
They showed it. They showed the emblem in the the reel at the very end.
Yeah, and
but that was the most we got.
Phil Spencer mentioned in an interview afterwards that we're going to see it at Gamescom specifically. Like we're going to be seeing Crackdown. So.
Okay.
At least it's still coming, you know. I mean, it's not going to be this year. And that's what's actually a really interesting thing about Microsoft compared to Sony is that not all of it, most of the things that they showed during their conference is going to be released this calendar year, whereas most of Sony's stuff is going to be next year.
Yeah.
Like almost all of Sony's stuff is going to be next year. It was still very exciting, but like a lot of it is next year. But I mean. Today was a good day of E3. I'm really excited for tomorrow specifically. I think, you know, Nintendo is always like the sleeper. Like, you always underestimate Nintendo, and then they always fucking blow it out of the water. I'm still like 100%. Like, they're going to announce a Pokemon. Like, that's going to happen.
Yeah, probably.
The known quantities for me are Pokemon and Star Fox. Like, we all know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
DLC for Mario Kart, DLC for Splatoon. That'll be like the thing. And then everything else is going to be like surprising, I think, personally.
Yeah.
And then the Square Enix, we'll see what happens there, and then the PC one, which to me is like a total fucking enigma. I'm so excited to talk about that PC conference when it's over, because it could be a total shit show.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting. I don't know how that's gonna work. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think that could end up being a total shit show, but it could also be like really incredible and like convince people to go buy gaming PCs. Well, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that's going to happen. And this is speaking as someone who enjoys PC gaming, so I'm not like shitting on PC gaming because I'm a fan, but I just don't see this working. But you know, I don't want to go into it with like too negative of an attitude, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to mention while we're here? We'll be back tomorrow night after the PC gaming conference, also doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping for some like more details to trickle out once like people start playing stuff on the floor. Yeah, that's usually you get some more like opinions on how things played, which will be nice to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, with that, all of the links that you could possibly need to find us are down below. They're all in the description. We're Alphabet everywhere, which is cool shit. We have a website, it's alphabet.com. We just launched. We're in like soft launch phase. This is like our exciting like dancing around the block party. And my name is Brendan Bigley.
I'm Chris Morris.
I'm Colin Jansen.
Thanks for dropping by, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow. Follow us on Twitter, and you'll find the link to that. Thanks so much for dropping by. There are actually a lot of you watching. That's kind of impressive. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Awesome.
We love you.
Bye.